This is not a philosophy. This is a puzzle that needs to be solved, and HUD is broken. The funds that come down from the federal government are unusable by a municipality. I've created hundreds of millions of dollars in affordable housing. Over 1,000 units in the city of Miami alone. During my 7 years, without any help from the federal government, without raising taxes, because we have a housing crisis. But if I had the partnership with the federal government, we could do a lot more. Infrastructure for our region. This is a big one. I passed the Miami Forever Bond, $400 million without raising taxes a dollar, to give us $200 million to tackle storm surge and sea level rise by replumbing the city of Miami. $100 million for affordable housing, and the other $100 million for safety and parks and cultural preservation. Again, no help from the federal government. I want to be that partner. And finally, on climate, I wrote the state's strongest climate ordinance, and I got it passed at the city of Miami. 1, we declared a climate emergency in the city. Very few cities have done that. 2, we set a goal of climate neutral by 2050. And 3, I passed an ordinance that would force 1,000 towers in the city of Miami to comply by measuring their efficiencies for water and electricity every year and investing in improvements every 5 years. That doesn't exist in any other state in Florida. So you can bet when I get to Washington, I will be finding the solutions that actually affect us on the ground here, our kitchen table issues. Of course we would vote absolutely the same way on every one of those other progressive ideals, but the difference between us is who's going to get the work done for this district. Thank you.
One of the things that I don't like to see when I travel around the country is the sign that says, here once stood the old hotel that is torn down for a parking lot, or here once stood place, Coconut Grove, called the Coconut Grove Playhouse. So I wanted to find out if you could commit to do everything you can, this 1 minute answers on this, everything you can to help save this building from the federal level before the building is gone. So we'll start with Ken, you can start first.
Thank you very much. It's an absolute gem. It's on the National Register of Historic Places, and it 100% should be preserved. It should not be knocked down like is under the county plan. The Coconut Grove Playhouse is a treasure for those of you who aren't familiar. We have over 400 people watching on TikTok Live right now from all over the country and the world, and they may not know what the Coconut Grove Playhouse is. I encourage you to Google it because it's very, very special. But it's a state-owned property, leased to the county, but historically preserved by the city. What could go wrong? And so, yes, we need to do everything we can. And I believe what should be done at this point is that the state should take it back from the county. Because what they are planning to do would violate the historic preservation of that property, and it should be taken back and given to someone who will take care of it. And yes, I will help.
I am the community, bring more performances, more tourists, more people to visit. It is a place that should be preserved. I am 100% committed to that.
And just so you both should know that the way it's going right now, that sign's going to be there, the Here Once Stood sign. So you're really going to really have to help, or you can help put up that sign. Now I have a question, 2 questions from the audience here I want to ask. This is for Annette. So Jim DeFeedy says you took money from Big Sugar and FP&L. So my question, follow-up would be, did you? What did they want with the money? And did you do what they wanted you to do with the money? And did they give it to you?
Well, first of all, Jim DeViti didn't say that. I can tell you, all of you, 100%, you will not find on my report any money from FPL or from Sugar. That is a flat out lie. And that is the reason why it is appalling that these false attacks are the way we're going with this campaign. There is a reason why the gold standard for Environmentalists, which is the League of Conservation Voters, has endorsed my campaign. They know our records. They've endorsed me. I have an A rating with Progress Florida. Today, I just got Florida for Progress, or one of those other progressive groups that, again, pays a lot of attention to our record and who takes money from whom. I have never taken money from any of those groups, and the web of lies to get there is absolutely appalling that anyone would do that. I am a fighter for this environment, I'm a fighter for our people, and I believe that we need to make sure that we have that kind of fighter, not somebody that's willing to lie to get elected.
Can I just ask you though, if you did get a check from $50,000 for sugar, and they gave you the check, that doesn't mean you have to do what they wanted to do.
Absolutely, and you can check my voting record, as a matter of fact, because I actually worked with the environmental groups, and there are times when you have to work with environmental groups to actually make bills less bad, because you never know if the governor's going to veto them. So you have to actually work across the aisle, work with people to ensure the votes. The Democrats selected me as the whip for Senate Democrats. Why? Because I worked so well across the aisle, making sure that bad bills were less bad, making sure that they took the other side, meaning those that were in power, the Republicans, that they took our amendments. And in many cases, we had to work specifically with the Everglades Foundation to make sure those amendments were put in there, because again, if the governor doesn't veto a bill, then we are going to be left with a really bad legislation that is going to go into effect and hurt our environment. And I was not willing to do that, and I will continue to be that fighter and to work across the aisle to make sure that we have the legislation that is passed, that we know is going to pass, that they have the votes, that we are actually going to get things that need to happen in order to make sure that they don't hurt our environment. And I will continue to work with Everglades Foundation and anyone that it takes to get that done.
Okay,
Michael,
thank
if I
you.
could, I have to challenge that because misstatements were made. Jim DeFede is not a liar. He's one of the most respected journalists in our community. There is no web of lies. The web is of dark money PACs. And her accuracy is that she has not received. But when Sugar gives to 5 big PACs, and those 5 big PACs give to 20 other PACs, and then those PACs feed her PAC, it all comes back together. And he studied the numbers, and I've seen the numbers. And it's nearly $500,000. You can put it together, he has the receipts. But as the senator said, the proof is in your vote. To accept money from someone doesn't necessarily mean you're bought and sold. The vote is where it counts.
And how do those votes look to you?
I am absolutely sorry, but in the, and so, and
You got money from all those developers.
so,
That question's coming next. Hold on, the question.
if I could finish, and I'm sure the senator's going to want to rebut, because I am going to go to her voting record.
You're a developer.
Senate Bill 2508. This allowed Sugar to have priority over our water, to do exactly what she said the governor's doing with Nestle in the Springs. She found some amendments that made it palatable for Democrats to vote yes. No, the crux of the bill still allowed Sugar to do what I was fighting against for years on the board of the Everglades Trust, to send water south from Lake Okeechobee and get the Army Corps to do it right and restore the Everglades. This bill gives Sugar first right of refusal on where that water goes, and I'm thankful, actually, that our otherwise horrible Governor Ron DeSantis vetoed that bill. And the Everglades Foundation was there to cheer him on and with him when he vetoed it. And it was the right thing to do. Her other bill, Senate Bill 88, protected Sugar from the burns and the smoke that they send into Palm Beach County. Just like President Biden trying to protect our veterans from the burn pits and the smokes that comes across from them, that's what the lawsuits were about. And she voted for a bill that gave immunity to the sugar industry for the lawsuits that would be brought against them.
Thank you so much. Look, I have to tell you, it is frankly appalling that you would say that in any way I was ever bought or took money that you know damn well I have never taken. And Jim DeFede never said what you said. He said, is it true that all this money was given to these different PACs? Absolutely. Of course, there's all kinds of PACs that take all kinds of money, and that doesn't mean that that money came to me. Are you suggesting that when one PAC gives $50,000 to something, it goes only to Annette Taddeo, and that's how you add up to $400,000? Give me a freaking break. My votes are very, very clear. My votes fighting for this community are there, and I am very proud of them. And I will tell you, 2508, since you bring it up, it actually voted out of the Senate unanimously. Why was that? Because again, we wanted to make sure that an amendment, which was put forward, by the way, by the Everglades Foundation, to make sure that we could make sure that if the governor didn't veto the bill, that we didn't end up with something completely detrimental to our community. So those are the things that you learn to do when you have to work with the majority, when you have to actually make sure that you protect our environment the way I have protected it. The reason it was voted unanimously is because of that, because we were trying to ensure that if it didn't get to a veto, the bill was not as bad as it was originally, and that the really horrible parts were taken out. That is the key to this, to ensure that we have someone that is going to be a fighter. And that is the reason why organizations that are pro-environment have endorsed me. They are not going to endorse someone that takes the money that you claim I have taken, which is a flat out lie.
So, when somebody says red and somebody says blue, the audience should be able to walk out here with an understanding of this issue. So have you changed your thinking at all from this response, or still the same?
No, Jim DeFede was very clear in his questions.
Your
Fine.
thinking.
No, I have not changed my thinking because Annette Taddeo does not have an A. The Climate Cabinet gave her a 63.